Welcome everybody. My name is Emily Mithner and I'm founder and president of NY Creative Interns, and we host all sorts of educational and social events geared towards young creatives to help you get one step closer to your dream career through the people you meet and the things that you learn. And today we're excited to be here to talk to you about LinkedIn, how to rock your online resume. So we're going to go through lots of tips and tricks to help you stand out and make the best use of this amazing social platform. So it's great that we've been able to meet some of you because you've shared your LinkedIn profiles in the chat. One of the great things about these events is that I will try to get to as many questions as possible, so please feel free to chat them throughout the event, but then once again towards the end of the event where we'll be doing the active Q&A. So here's again a bit about our mission. Just some fun facts about us. We are the largest meetup for interns and recent grads in the country, and we've hosted all sorts of amazing creative professionals from all types of top companies based in New York, ranging from Condé Nast, Bravo, Google, Tribeca Film Festival, to great startups like Etsy, Tumblr, and nonprofits like DoSomething.org. So definitely make sure to stay in the loop in terms of our events. Follow us on social media through Twitter, Facebook, and the like, and make sure you take advantage of all the great opportunities we have for you. So today we're going to talk about how to use LinkedIn to really make yourself stand out, use it to find jobs and internships, of course, and how to connect with potential mentors. And as I mentioned again, we'll take your specific social media and LinkedIn questions at the end. So here we go, 15 things you can do to make your LinkedIn profile work for you. So about the first half of this will be things that you can do to your profile, and then the second half will be things that you can, other ways you can use LinkedIn to really make sure you're taking advantage of it to its fullest potential. So number one, your headline is not equal your current gig. So I see a lot of people whose headline is the same thing as their current job, and that's really a waste of prime real estate. The thing is that if somebody looks at your profile, they're going to see your first job listed in your experience section, and it's likely going to be one of the first things that they see. So there's no sense in repeating what your current title is in that headline section. You want to get creative and show some personality, of course with being professional, but really show people what you're really all about. What's your pitch? What inspires you? What industry are you looking to get into? And this is really great for people who are looking for jobs and internships because it gives you a chance to not focus on maybe your past experience, but to focus on what you want to do. So aspiring media professional, or marketing student, or graphic designer entrepreneur. Get creative with this space, take advantage of it, and don't just repeat what your current job title is. Number two, customize your LinkedIn profile or your LinkedIn URL. So I see a lot of you sharing your URLs here, and one of the reasons I do that is just to get a quick, easy glance at how many of you have custom URLs. So when you're submitting your paper resumes in person and even submitting them online, say through digital applications, when you turn it into a PDF, you want to put your LinkedIn link on your paper resume too and your digital resume too, right up at the top where you put your name, your address, a website if you have one, phone number, etc. So you want to make it look pretty when you're sharing this link in other places. So most of you will see that the default here in terms of many people's profile is some variation of their name, but also a lot of miscellaneous numbers and letters. And so when you're in the edit profile mode, you can, as you can see here, make your LinkedIn URL your name, a variation of your name. Say if your name is something common, you can use your first letter, last initial, etc., etc. It's great if you're able to have the same URL across different platforms, so potentially the same Twitter handle, LinkedIn URL, website address if possible. But if not, it's definitely to your advantage to come up with some sort of short, easy to spell, easy to write, easy to read URL, and you can do that for free and easy in the edit profile section. Third tip, move your summary to the top. So many people who are in our community are either looking for new work, looking to transition into a new industry, or get their first job. So a lot of times they ask me, my real experience doesn't necessarily talk to what I want to be doing in the future. And that's where your summary comes in. Your summary is an amazing place for you to tell your story exactly how you want people to hear it. So I highly recommend taking some time to really think about what you want people to know about you, and then moving that summary directly to the top. Because again, they're going to see that experience later on, so you don't need to just repeat, I interned here, I worked here, I went to school here. That's all listed further below. This is really one where you want to tell your story, tell your aspirations, tell what drives you, what motivates you, where you want to go, where you see yourself. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. Of course, I know this is a very overwhelming task for some people to write, basically their little bio, but it's really important. And the exciting thing about this platform is that it's very simple to change this from time to time. So everybody's goals change, your experience is going to change, and so this summary is something that you can continually update as you go along. It might be something that you want to look at and tweak maybe as often as once a month. A really important thing to do in terms of making sure that your profile is going to show up high in search results is to max out your skills section. So this is where you want to talk about the nitty-gritty. So what are your hard skills? What programs do you know? What software do you know? What social media platforms are you familiar with? Essentially, if you think that it's a platform that you have a pretty good understanding of and you could get a lot better at quickly, say if needed, you want to put this here. And some people get a little overwhelmed with coming up with 50 different skills. It seems like a lot. But one great thing you can do is look at other people's profiles that have the job you want and mirror their skills and see what skills they have. It's also good for figuring out what skills that you'll want to be adding to your profile. But this is really important because in terms of recruiters who might be using LinkedIn to search for candidates, these keywords are going to help you show up higher when they're searching. So the next is to get recommendations. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with getting recommendations for jobs and references in terms of, in letter PDF form, but LinkedIn is a great way to publicly share your recommendations. So there's definitely a lot of etiquette that can go along with this, so I'll spend a little bit more time on this slide. But again, the great thing about managing your LinkedIn recommendations is once you get one, you're able to request edits. You're also able to hide it if it's something that you actually don't end up wanting to show. And you might think, why would I get a recommendation and not want to show it? Well, for one, it can be maybe somebody that you aren't associated with anymore. Maybe they just didn't write something that you feel proud of showing and you don't want to ask them to edit it. But another big reason is you might not want to keep that experience that they're speaking to on your profile. So that's actually what happened to me. I used to be a graphic designer. I majored in graphic design, and that was a big part of my life when I was in school and even up to about a year out of school. But eventually I've moved away from practicing graphic design as a freelancer, and I did have a recommendation that was speaking to my graphic design skills, and I didn't feel like that was relevant anymore, and I had more important things to be showing on my profile. So as you can see, I actually that is the one hidden recommendation that I've highlighted in red there. So in terms of asking for recommendations, I mentioned, maybe you get one and you don't really like the way it turned out. In parentheses here in this tip I have that you write, because I think it's extremely helpful and beneficial to you that if when requesting recommendations, you help guide what they're actually going to write about. Preferably you're asking somebody to write a recommendation for you who was in love with your work, really enjoyed working with you, and is happy to talk about how great you are. And sometimes it can be overwhelming because maybe there's lots of great things to talk about. So it's helpful if you can sort of give them an outline of what you'd like to emphasize. And what's good is if you can have a strategy of asking different people to emphasize different skills. So you might not want every single recommendation to just say that you're a quick learner and you have great creative marketing ideas. Maybe you want one person to say how much of a quick learner you are, one person to talk about a specific campaign you ran, one person to talk about how you work well in teams, etc., etc. So be strategic about getting your reviews and give the guidance. Some people might actually ask you to literally write the recommendation for you, and then they can tweak it and make sure it sounds like it's in their own voice. And again, you might just want to ask if this is something they would want you to do, because especially for people who are higher up and managers, they're often quite busy, and so if you can help make their lives easier by pre-writing something for you, or at least writing an outline, you're going to be more likely to get a yes. So next up is adding rich media to your experience, and actually other sections of your LinkedIn profile as well. And this is a new feature of LinkedIn that's really exciting, because this is the sort of thing that you can't necessarily show in your paper resume, so you want to take advantage of being able to show these things on your LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn now enables you to add media to each section of experience and even your summary on your LinkedIn profile. So here's an example from my LinkedIn profile. This is my experience from Sterling Publishing, where I worked as a social media coordinator. And so the rich media I added is a blog that I launched, started, and ran called I Heart Classics. And this is something that I was very proud of, that I spoke a lot about in interviews and on applications, and so I wanted to be able to link to it in my LinkedIn profile, so I could kind of show off a real example of something I made during my job. Because people, of course, they're going to hear about what you've made and what you've done, but it's great if there's some visualizations to go along with that. So some other examples of media you can add are video, links to online portfolios like Behance, graphics, photos, PowerPoint presentations, slide presentations, and more. So you absolutely want to take advantage of this. There's also a lot of other extra sections you can add to your profile. So these are some things that I don't have on my profile, but might be relevant to you. So especially for those of you who are still students, there's a section called Courses, where you can talk about the courses that you've done. And this is great for those of you who might not have so much work experience, and you can sort of fill up the space on your profile with relevant coursework. And then as you get more work experience, you can take away some of the courses. In some industries, test scores matter more than others. That might be something you want to add. If you have any special certification, there's a section for that. You can also include projects. So if you worked on school projects or special projects at work that you're very proud of, there's lots of different movable sections. Causes and volunteering is another one. So, depending on what your goal is and what you want people to learn about you, you have these extra profile pieces to consider. So this is a big one. Include your email address and include it in your public profile. I know this freaks some people out, but the fact of the matter is you're going to get more great opportunities and good things happen to you by sharing your email address and making yourself available online than you will have weird, strange things happen to you. I know that's always a worry, but especially for those of you who are looking for opportunities actively, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to get in touch with you. So sharing your email address on your LinkedIn profile is very important. And if you don't want to maybe share your real personal Gmail address, you can always make yourself a sort of extra out there contact email that you feel comfortable putting out there, and maybe have a personal email that you keep separate if that makes you feel more comfortable about sharing. But I highly recommend including your email address in both your the contact portion of LinkedIn, and potentially even in other sections. For instance, I have my 2 different emails, one for work and my personal in the summary of my LinkedIn profile as well. Some people even go so far as to put it in their LinkedIn headline or even their Twitter bio. This is huge. This might be my number one tip for using LinkedIn in the best way possible, and that is to send a custom invitation and connect message when you link to someone on LinkedIn. You know, these platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn are so fantastic because they enable you to connect with so many more people than you would be able to back in the good old days. And that's fantastic. But as you all know, it can be really overwhelming as well. So when you're connecting with people, you want to make it clear and easy for them to remember how you met and why you're connecting. So these are a few examples of messages I've sent and received. I have one here that I sent to someone who I met at a conference. They were a speaker. So my message is very short and quick. It just says, great to hear from you at SM Weekend, which was the hashtag for the event. And then these are two messages from people who have actually attended events like yours. So we have somebody who attended one of my workshops at a college, Brooklyn College, and he said, "Hi Emily, I had attended a New York Creative Interns workshop in the fall a few months back, and I just wanted to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn." And note, he's connecting with me a couple of months after we met. And if you're doing something like that, it's okay, but it's even more important that you remind them how you actually met. And then this is a nice message from Romanowski, who's actually attended a bunch of our virtual events and events in real life. So she just sent me a quick message saying that she enjoyed my workshop and appreciated my advice, and that she's looking forward to keeping in touch and attending more events. So just taking that extra 5 minutes to, not even 5 minutes, it really takes 30 seconds to change that default message to something custom will really make your response rate go up. The next tip is to follow companies you want to work for. So LinkedIn used to be a very static platform where most people would set up a profile and leave it. You know, sort of the set it and forget it attitude. But LinkedIn is moving more towards Facebook and Twitter, where there are company pages, you have a stream and a feed of people you follow and people writing articles through the LinkedIn influencer network. So it's really becoming a great source for keeping updated with companies you might want to work for. So most companies now have a company page on LinkedIn, and some are more robust than others, but by following it, you'll be able to gain access to their exclusive updates and be able to easily see who in your network is connected to the company, and so on and so forth. So this is a great tip, and it's something I've used personally in the past to help me land internships and jobs, and I use all the time to this day. So that is to look up people whose job you want. LinkedIn is a great researching resource. If you know that in 5 years you want to be the marketing director of a magazine, you can search all the top magazine titles, plug in marketing director or even just marketing, and look up the people who have those roles, and you can get an idea of what their journey was to get where they are today. And that'll be helpful for you to not only see what you might have to do within your career, but also to get an idea of what your profile might need to look like and what skills you might need. This is a screenshot of an advanced search for just a company name, Time Out New York, which was one of the places I interned, and I absolutely loved it. And you can also sort these search results by relationship, which is nice. So when you're searching for a company, if you want to work there, you can search so that the people who you're related to the most closely will show up on top. So the next tip is to ask for introductions when you have a connection. So I highly recommend connecting with most people you meet in any sort of way on LinkedIn, just because by connecting with that one person, you're also then connected to their network by 1 degree. So you might notice you'll see different little icons above people's profiles, first degree, or it might just say first, second, third, I just believe 1, 2, 3, and then out of network. But so if you're a first degree connection, that means that you are connected directly through LinkedIn. If you're a second degree connection, that means that someone you're connected with knows that person. And then third degree, as you might guess, means that you know someone who works where you want to work. And so when you find out that you have a second degree connection with somebody you want to meet, it's great to take advantage of that by asking the person who's connected to them for an introduction. And everybody's going to have different opinions on this and different opinions of how they might want you to reach out to them. So I'm just going to share with you how I prefer to make introductions for people and what my personal requirements are for making introductions. And I think that'll give you a good starting point to figure out when it's appropriate to ask for recommendations and introductions. So for me, I absolutely love to recommend people who I know are awesome. If I've worked with you in any sort of capacity, if you're someone who's volunteered for us, if you're a coworker at one of my past jobs, if we've worked at an event together, as long as we've done some sort of concrete project together and you know that we enjoyed our time together and that we helped each other out, I'm always thrilled to introduce these sorts of people to other people, because everybody loves being responsible for making those great introductions that they know are going to be fruitful. So if somebody that I've worked with sees that I'm connected to someone they'd like to meet and they reach out to me, what I always recommend that they do is, first of all, reach out to me through email, because that's personally how I sort of manage this sort of thing. But it's always great to follow up with me on other networks like LinkedIn or Twitter, just in case the email gets lost or I'm busy. And what I'll tell them is, yes, of course, I'd love to make the introduction. Write me up exactly what you want me to say about you. And this is similar to how I talked about how when asking for recommendations, it's good for you to create an outline or even just literally write the recommendation for the person, because I might know tons of awesome things about you, but I'm not exactly sure what you want me to highlight with this specific person. So I'll have the person write out the blurb they want me to send and why they want to connect with this person, and then I'll email the person they want the intro to. So say somebody wants an intro to this person, Adam Shapiro. I'll email Adam and I'll make the subject line something to the effect of Introduction to Great Young Marketing Creative. And I'll say, "Hi Adam, hope all is well." And then I'll say something personal about maybe something to do with Peanut Butter and Company where he works, or something regarding our last conversation. And then I'll say, I just wanted to know if you'd be interested in an introduction. My colleague Megan is one of the best community managers that I've ever met. We've worked together on numerous projects, including X, Y, and Z, and I was thrilled with the results of our efforts together, and we ended up surpassing our goals. I thought this is someone that you'd be interested in chatting with in general about marketing and digital strategy, and I think she might be someone who could be helpful for you in terms of that new role that you're hiring for at Peanut Butter and Company. Here's her email if you'd like to reach out to her directly, or let me know if you're free if I should have her touch base with you. Either way, hope all is well and looking forward to seeing you soon. So most of that would be what Megan said I should send to him. Of course, I'll always tweak these blurbs so that it sounds like it's coming from me, and I usually put in an extra few great things about the person I'm making the introduction for. But many people might make an introduction and copy both people on the email, and I think this isn't the best method because, if I do this to Adam, it might be a very busy time for him. He might be on vacation. he might be transitioning into a new role. There are just all these things that could potentially be happening with him that might make him too busy to get coffee or have a meeting or email someone. So by just emailing them, asking if it's okay to make the intro, you're going to ensure that this is someone that Adam is really interested in meeting, which is going to make it better for both parties. Because occasionally you'll get someone who doesn't respond or who isn't interested or is too busy. And you don't want to put the pressure on them by making them feel like they have to respond to the person by automatically copying them in that email. So again, everybody is different. LinkedIn also has a feature where you can make introductions straight through LinkedIn, which is another option. But just really think about how you can ask for the introduction in the best way possible, and also how that person might best want to receive the introduction as well. So here's a great tool that's also pretty new, and I've used this, I use this about once a month to recruit speakers, find potential people to work with, freelance, etc., etc. So one of the great things about joining LinkedIn is gaining better access to your alumni network. And if you don't have something in common with someone you want to meet, or if you want to meet somebody at a company but you don't really know anyone personally, a great thing to have in common is where you went to school. So you definitely want to take advantage of your alumni network, because most people love helping people who went to their same school. They share a sense of pride. It helps boost numbers and rankings when you help each other get jobs and that sort of thing. So this is a really cool advanced search that you can go to by heading to the top bar of LinkedIn and clicking on your network. Your school will automatically pop down as a network. And so you can choose all these different filters to help find the exact type of person you're looking for. So you can see here some of the features that I've highlighted in this filter are that they attended school, attended Hofstra, where I went to school from between 2010 and 2012. So if you're looking for a person of a certain age or tenure, you can search year of graduation. I've also searched that I'm looking for someone in the greater New York City area who's in media and communications, marketing, arts and design, or human resources. You can see this is actually a search that I've used to help recruit speakers for our events. And then it's going to show you all these different places where they work. It's going to show other features that are available to you. And this is a great quick way to make some good connections on LinkedIn, help find people who might want to meet with you for coffee or informational meetings, and use it in your job hunt as well. So of course, when you're meeting all these people on LinkedIn, or when you've met people offline in the real world and then you've connected with them on LinkedIn, you want to make sure you stay on your radar, stay on their radar. And this is how you really can make use of LinkedIn. It's really not just about that first connection, but it's about maintaining that connection. So staying on their radar or giving hat tips is what I'm talking about in this slide. So you can see this is just a screenshot of a post from someone in my LinkedIn feed. So as I mentioned, LinkedIn does now have feeds, and so all the people you're following, all the companies you're following, and the people you're connected with, their updates are going to be what makes your feed. And so personally, I like to use LinkedIn as a place to maintain connections with people who I've met in real life. So you'll hear a lot of people go back and forth over whether or not it's appropriate to connect with people who you haven't met in real life on LinkedIn. And I think that's a personal decision, and because that's a personal decision, it's why you should never be offended if people don't connect with you, because you never know what they're using LinkedIn for. But for me personally, again, I like to use it as a place to maintain contact with people who I have met in real life. And so the way I do this in a manageable way, but effectively, is every day I'll just spend a couple of minutes on my home feed on LinkedIn, and I'll just like people's updates. I don't really pay attention too much as to whose updates they are. Usually it's different because I'll go on at different times of days, and sometimes people post a lot and not at all. So again, just taking a few minutes to like posts, to comment on posts, and that's how you get your name out there, and that's how you stay on people's radar. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a notification that John Doe liked my update and thought, oh, John Doe, he told me he's looking for a marketing job and I just heard about a great one. I'm going to send him a message, or I'm going to send him an email. And so many people ask us at events, how do I stay in touch with my bosses? How do I stay in touch with my mentors and professors? And this is a great way to stay in touch where it doesn't put the pressure on the person to email you back or write you back or meet up with coffee, because that's not something you can do super often. It's hard to go out on a lot of meetings and to send and respond to a lot of emails. But just noting quickly that you're paying attention, you're congratulating them, you're following their updates, that's the way that you're really going to be able to maintain your network and scale it in the long run. So of course this really goes along with the last slide, but this one is to go so far as to set reminders to stay in touch. I can't tell you how important it is to follow up with all the people you're going to be connecting with on LinkedIn. And for everybody, the method of following up and reminding yourself is going to be different. There's not one tell-all answer for what's the best way to follow up with people. It's really about integrating follow-up into whatever method you already use to keep yourself organized. But one really cool thing that LinkedIn just recently launched is this reminder function right within everyone's LinkedIn profiles. So once you connect with somebody, you now get this little area. You can see it's right under the person's profile next to contact information that says relationship. So this is going to become a little sketch pad basically to help you quickly remember how you connected with this person, why you connected with them, and if you should follow up and when. And so it can actually help you set a little reminder where you'll get an email when that reminder is due. You can talk about how you met the person, and you can even set a tag. So say you've gone to a conference or a networking event like our Summer Opportunity Mixer coming up on July 31st, next Wednesday. Maybe you want to tag all the people you connected there with the tag OpMixer, right? The hashtag for the event. And that way you can go back into your connections in a month or in a week or for the next day and make a reminder to follow up with them, or just go to their profile and like one of their comments, send them a message, and so on and so forth. So for everyone, LinkedIn might not be the best place to do this. If you keep a physical notebook or schedule or planner, you might want to just put reminders just like you would in a to-do list. So if you met someone at an event and you want to stay in touch with them, you had a great connection, but there were no job openings, and they said, hey, there's nothing for you now, but follow up with me in 3 months and we'll see if there's anything then. Put a reminder in that calendar for 3 months later that says follow up with John Doe. It's so impressive if you can remember to do this. I guarantee you that if someone asks you to follow up within a month, 2, 3 months, or further, it will be impressive right off the bat if you just even remember to do that. I've done that myself with so many people, and the majority of people forget and they don't follow up, and it's really a shame. For me personally, I also like to put reminders into Google Calendar, just like scheduling an event to follow up with the person or send them an email. So again, think about what's going to work for you and make sure that following up is a really big part of your strategy for maintaining your network. So that concludes the formal part of our presentation. We'll have time for a Q&A, but before we end, I really want everyone to think about a goal they can set for themselves for the next month. And I want it to be challenging, but of course we want it to be realistic. So it can be something like try three tips from tonight and to implement them, add 15 connections within the next month, update your summary, add some rich media, just something where you can write down a goal for yourself, make it quantifiable, put a date in there to check with, to check with yourself to follow up. But these workshops, we really want you to take action afterwards. So we'll again make these slides available. We're going to make the presentation available so you can go back, go through the tips, and at your own pace set some goals and make some improvements in your LinkedIn profile. Of course, we'd love to see you at our future events. We have a really great event coming up next Wednesday on July 31st in New York City. It is our first ever Summer Opportunity Mixer, and it'll be a chance for you to meet dozens of reps from top New York City companies, including big ones like Viacom, Time Inc., and AOL, and also smaller design firms like Moment Design, great agencies like Kate Ryan Inc., nonprofits like City Harvest, and more. So it'll be an excellent opportunity to practice your pitch, to find job and internship opportunities, and to make connections with really great creative professionals. And even if they're not people who have job openings for you at this very moment, hopefully you'll be able to take the tools and tips learned from this workshop and apply them to maintaining the connections that you meet at the Mixer. We also have a regular summer mixer where we're going to be talking about a topic similar to this, which is growing and maintaining your network in general. And that's going to be at the Wix Lounge, also in New York City, on Thursday, August 8th.